Today we're exploring the seated open guard through the constraints-led approach. G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on this, my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. My name is Sam Battlefields and I am your host. I am doing something a little bit different. Hope you're liking it. Hope you do like it. The reason for it is because I do want to reach a bit more of an audience with this, and I seem to be helping some people. So if that's the case, then if I can get more people assisted on this journey, then I want to make that happen. Wanted to start. I've got a couple of things to talk about today. One of them being Craig Jones Invitational. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes on that a bit later on. Want to also go through the lesson today. Did a little bit of a different thing for boxing. We didn't throw on the gloves. I wanted to see how much difference not having the gloves on. I really liked it. I noticed that I wasn't palming as much. I was trying to sort of flick out, which was actually pretty good. I was able to identify an area for one of the guys to focus on because their footwork, it's not that their footwork needed work, it was that there wasn't much bounce in it. So it was really cool to, I sort of sat back and thought, well, I got the opportunity to sit back today and kind of look at a couple of things that were going on and be able to sort of coach that side of thing, which was good. But I have been doing a bit more research into the striking stuff. Look, I'm not an expert by any stretch, but I would say I'm high intermediate advanced, and so therefore I've got something to go off with regards to making gains for striking. But yeah, I won't go too much into that. We also, I did see a game from a boxing gym, and it was essentially you stand toe to toe, you can't move your feet, and they had a piece of paper, and the piece of paper was sort of hanging out of the mouth, and lead hand only. They had to snatch the paper out of the mouth, and it was, I thought it was actually not too bad. It was interesting. There was a couple of cool things that came out of it. Sort of feet positioning when it came to southpaw versus orthodox. Really showed some just some cool defensive stuff and offensive stuff that could be offensive affordances, essentially. Elements of counter-striking, which was really cool. Again, a lot of affordances when I was doing southpaw, which I am southpaw, being that I am left-handed, but I've been playing with a lot of switch stance lately because there's benefits to it. I think, especially since I've been doing CLA, there's a lot of benefit with experimenting in places where you're not comfortable, and this has actually resulted in me being really, really fluid. I mean, coming from some Taekwondo background, the fluidity of switching stances is not unknown to me, but I really like it. Anyway, I won't hang on that too much. I wanted to get to like a connection to takedown today, but I noticed, here's the thing, I am 42 with 2 kids and a partner. She's a boxer, and she wants to go to training in the mornings now, so I'm wanting to facilitate that where I can. What this means is I've got to take my baby girl into the gym in the morning. She takes our toddler son because there's a bit more sort of space for him to run around, and he's not going to turn that into his playground, and he does jiu-jitsu at our gym, or at my gym, and he becomes a bit of a menace when he's there outside of class hours because it's kind of like his, he plays there and it's his domain. Her taking him there meant that I get my baby girl, and she is obviously not the she's only 7 months old, so needs a little bit of attention, a little bit of love, and that's not particularly conducive to a strong testosterone fueled morning. But furthermore, it also did take me out of flow quite a bit. I kind of snapped into, so for example, I had down here, I'm going to do half guard, knee on the floor, just as a bit of interleaving practice from the last couple of days, or a couple of weeks, sorry. While this was happening, I realised we're doing guard again, because it's open guard week. And so I backed out of that, and we did mount to half guard basically, but mount to double enclosure around the leg. It was really cool. It was really cool seeing the development in the last 2 weeks doing it half guard stuff. Is just off the charts, and part of the reason why I've got this Craig Jones up on the screen here is this is the highest paying grappling event in history, and I asked myself, when will we see some high level CLA athletes, and that's initially it's kind of like, oh well, DeAndre Corby, that Kit Dale could be, with his task-based games, he could be considered, he wouldn't say it, but he wouldn't put it on because he didn't know the underlying science, but there's a lot of the stuff that he does is constraints-led approach, not necessarily with that labeling on it. He was top of the game for however many years. But I was thinking, who's pure CLA that's going to come through this, through the focus that the community maybe has now on the approach. So, it's been about a year and a half since Greg sort of started hitting the podcast scene, and well, it's 6 months since I first started it, 8 months since I was introduced. And when you look at the Discord and the community around it, like a lot of these guys have been in it for 5 years. 5 years is really not that long. It's an eternity when you think of it from the perspective of nobody else is doing it. But when you're looking to develop an athlete to go to the highest level of something like ADCC, IBJJF, JJF, Craig Jones Invitational, which is hopefully the bad spelling of the inaugural, so I think that means inaugural, but if we see this yearly, maybe this is his out. If we see this regularly, when are we going to see the CLA athletes really start dominating? And I sort of put it out that it would be 5 to 10 years, but I think we're going to take over. I genuinely think that CLA is going to take over. It's just a better form of training. Interesting today, so I wanted to look at open guard from the perspective of obviously seated and supine. I actually had some notes ready to go more for supine than I did with seated, but what happened was we were playing this game, and the game was literally one hand had to be on their knee from the person on top, so he's standing. One hand had to be on the knee, and you were just trying to get past their knees, whereas the person on the bottom was trying to get some sort of double enclosure on the top portion of the limbs, right? So thighs, biceps, basically. So I got double enclosure on Ridwan's bicep as he kind of went round the back, and he said, "Yeah, but I think I've got more control than you. And I kind of threw him and showed him that he didn't, but he wasn't ready for it, and I recognised that. So what I did is, instead of going to a supine game, I said, all right, well, we're going to build on the seated game, right? So now the person on top was to try to get to chest, and the person on the bottom, try and put them on their ass in some way, shape or form. And that opened up the affordances, the affordance landscape massively. I probably didn't slice that as much as I could have, but ultimately what ended up happening was some of the stuff from the half guard week came in, because someone would stand inside the guard and then kind of go to kneel down or something along those lines, and it worked out because it showed just how dynamic a seated open guard actually is. Hopefully this helps. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the new stuff.